Ever wonder what really goes on behind the scenes in property management? It's not just about collecting rent and fixing leaky faucets. Today, we're diving deep into some incredible real-life stories that show how smart, strategic property management can turn a struggling investment into a thriving success. These aren't just hypotheticals. They're real case studies from the field, and they're packed with lessons for any landlord or investor. So grab a notebook, because you're going to want to remember these. Let's start with our first story, which I like to call the turnaround. A client came to us with a 10-unit apartment building that was, to put it mildly, a mess. The vacancy rate was a staggering 40%, meaning 4 out of 10 units were sitting empty, just bleeding money. The ones that were occupied? Well, many tenants were consistently late on rent. The building itself was showing signs of neglect, chipped paint, overgrown landscaping, and a general feeling of being unloved. The owner was at his wit's end, considering selling at a loss just to get out from under the stress. Our first step wasn't just to list the vacant units online. That would have been like putting a Band-Aid on a broken leg. We needed to diagnose the root cause. We conducted a thorough inspection of the property and interviewed the existing tenants. What did we find? The previous management was unresponsive. Maintenance requests would go unanswered for weeks, and there was zero communication. The tenants who were there felt ignored and undervalued, and the word had gotten around town, giving the building a bad reputation. So, we implemented a three-pronged strategy. First, aesthetics. We brought in a team to give the building a facelift. A fresh coat of paint, professional landscaping, updated lighting in the common areas, and a deep clean of the entire property. It wasn't a multi-million-dollar renovation, but it made the building look cared for and safe. It instantly boosted curb appeal and showed the existing tenants that things were changing for the better. Second, communication. We introduced a new system, a dedicated tenant portal where residents could submit maintenance requests, pay rent online, and receive building-wide announcements. We also established a 24-hour response promise for all inquiries. If a tenant reached out, they were guaranteed to hear back from us within 1 business day. This simple change rebuilt trust almost overnight. Tenants started to feel heard and respected. Third, tenant screening. For the vacant units, we didn't just rush to get bodies in. We implemented a rigorous screening process. We checked credit history, verified employment and income, and conducted thorough background checks. We weren't just looking for someone who could pay the first month's rent. We were looking for long-term, reliable residents who would treat the property with respect. The results? Within 6 months, the vacancy rate dropped from 40% to 0. Not one empty unit. Even better, the existing tenants, seeing the positive changes, started paying rent on time. The sense of community in the building improved dramatically. The owner went from wanting to sell at a loss to owning a profitable, highly desirable asset. This story is a perfect example of how property management is about more than just managing a building. It's about managing relationships and reputation. Now for our second case study. Let's call this one the value add. We took on a single-family home in a decent neighborhood, but it was dated. Think avocado green appliances and shag carpeting. The owner had been renting it out for below-market rates for years, afraid that raising the rent would cause his long-term tenant to leave. When that tenant finally moved out, the owner was faced with a choice: rent it out again as is for a low price, or invest in an upgrade. He was hesitant to spend money, which is a common concern for property owners. Our job was to show him how a strategic investment could lead to a massive return. We didn't suggest a full gut renovation. Instead, we focused on high-impact, cost-effective upgrades. We presented him with a detailed plan. We'd replace the old carpet with modern, durable laminate flooring. We'd paint the entire interior a neutral, bright color. And we'd update the kitchen and bathroom with new fixtures, stainless steel appliances, and quartz countertops. The total investment was around $15,000. The owner was skeptical, but he trusted our analysis of the local market. We showed him comparable properties in the area that had these modern finishes and were renting for significantly more. He agreed to move forward. The renovation took about 3 weeks. Once it was done, the house was unrecognizable. It looked bright, clean, and modern. We listed the newly renovated property. The response was immediate and overwhelming. We had dozens of applications within the first 48 hours. Because of the high demand and the premium quality of the home, we were able to rent it for $600 more per month than the previous rate. Let's do the math on that. The $600 increase translates to $7,200 in additional income per year. The initial $15,000 investment would be paid back in just over 2 years. After that, it's pure profit, not to mention the significant increase in the property's overall value. This case study perfectly illustrates that sometimes you have to spend money to make money. Strategic upgrades aren't an expense. They're an investment in your asset's future earning potential. Our final story for today is the Proactive Protector. This involves a portfolio of properties for an out-of-state investor. Managing properties from a distance is incredibly challenging, and this investor had been burned before by management companies that were reactive rather than proactive. Problems would only be addressed after they became emergencies, leading to expensive, rushed repairs. Our philosophy is built on proactive maintenance. When we took over this portfolio, the first thing we did was create a detailed maintenance schedule for every single property. This wasn't just about fixing things when they broke. It was about preventing them from breaking in the first place. We scheduled semi-annual HVAC servicing, regular gutter cleaning, and annual roof inspections. We tested smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors twice a year. We had a plumber inspect for slow leaks under sinks and around toilets. A few months into our management, during a routine roof inspection on one of the homes, our contractor found a small area of damaged shingles. It wasn't causing a leak yet, but it was a weak spot that wouldn't have survived the next big storm. The repair cost was a few $100s. Had we waited for a leak to appear, the damage could have been catastrophic. We're talking thousands, maybe tens of thousands of dollars in water damage, ceiling repair, mold remediation, and potentially having to relocate the tenant. The investor was thrilled. This one small, proactive repair saved him a massive headache and a huge expense. Over time, this proactive approach has consistently saved him money across his entire portfolio. It minimizes emergency calls, reduces tenant turnover because the properties are well maintained, and protects the long-term value of his investments. This story highlights a crucial, often overlooked aspect of property management. Prevention is always cheaper than the cure. A good property manager doesn't just put out fires, they prevent them from starting. So what can we learn from these stories? First, property management is a people business. Restoring trust and communication can be just as important as physical repairs. Second, strategic investment pays off. Don't be afraid to spend money on smart upgrades that will increase your rental income and property value. And third, be proactive, not reactive. Regular, preventative maintenance is your best defense against costly emergencies and will keep your tenants happy. Managing a rental property can be an incredibly rewarding venture, but it comes with its fair share of challenges. These real-life examples show that with the right strategies and the right team, you can overcome those challenges and turn your property into a successful, stress-free investment. It's all about being smart, strategic, and treating the property not just as a building, but as a business. I hope these case studies have given you some valuable insights and a clearer picture of what effective property management looks like in action. It's about turning problems into opportunities and maximizing the potential of every single property. Thanks so much for watching. If you found these stories helpful, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of real estate and property management. Drop a comment below and let me know if you've had any similar experiences. We'll see you in the next video.